When you're out exploring forests, trails, or even suburban parks, wild berries can seem like nature's candy. But not all berries are safe to eat. Some are dangerously toxic, even in small amounts. Today, we're covering 5 poisonous berries you might encounter in the North American wild. Learning to identify them could prevent a serious emergency. These plants are more common than you think, and the last one is often found right in people's backyards. Number 1. Poison ivy berries. Let's start with one you've probably heard of, but maybe not in this context. Most people know poison ivy for its leaves, specifically the classic leaves of 3, let it be, warning. But poison ivy also produces berries, and these are just as problematic as the rest of the plant. Poison ivy berries are small and typically white or pale greenish in color. They grow in loose, hanging clusters along the stems of the vine or shrub. You'll usually spot them in late summer through fall, often right alongside those infamous 3-leafed stems. The berries have a waxy coating that gives them a slightly shiny appearance, and they tend to droop downward rather than stand upright. What makes these berries especially tricky is that they're not toxic to all creatures. Birds, in fact, love them. You might see robins, woodpeckers, or other songbirds feeding on poison ivy berries without any issue. This is actually how the plant spreads so effectively. Birds eat the berries, fly elsewhere, and deposit the seeds through their droppings. So just because you see wildlife eating a berry doesn't mean it's safe for humans. For us, though, poison ivy berries are anything but harmless. The entire plant contains urushiol, an oily resin that causes severe allergic reactions in most people. This includes the berries. If you touch them, you can develop the same itchy, blistering rash that poison ivy leaves are famous for. The rash can appear within hours or take a few days to develop, and it can last for weeks if untreated. Even more concerning, if the berries are ingested, they can cause internal inflammation. Symptoms may include swelling of the mouth and throat, difficulty swallowing, stomach pain, and digestive distress. Children are particularly at risk because the berries can look appealing, especially when birds are eating them nearby. The plant itself is highly adaptable. Poison ivy can grow as a ground cover, a shrub, or a climbing vine that wraps around trees. The leaves change color, with the seasons green in summer, brilliant red or orange in fall, but the berries remain fairly consistent in appearance. They're about the size of a peppercorn and often persist on the plant well into winter, even after the leaves have fallen. If you're out hiking or working in your yard and you spot these pale, clustered berries on a plant with 3-leafed stems, keep your distance. Don't touch them, and make sure children and pets stay clear as well. Even dead poison ivy plants can retain their toxic oils for years, so fallen branches or vines with dried berries are still hazardous. The best approach is simple awareness and avoidance. Number 2. Doll's eyes, white baneberry. Next, we have one of the most unsettling-looking plants you'll find in North American forests. Doll's eyes, also known as white baneberry, earns its name from the appearance of its berries, which look strikingly like old-fashioned porcelain doll eyes. Each white berry has a single black dot in the center, resembling a pupil, and they grow on thick, bright red stalks that make them stand out even more. This plant is native to eastern North America and thrives in shaded, moist woodlands. You'll often find it growing in rich soil, near streams, or in the understory of hardwood forests. The plant itself reaches about 2 to 3 feet in height and blooms with small white flowers in late spring. By midsummer, those flowers give way to the distinctive berries. While the appearance of doll's eyes is certainly eerie, the real danger lies in what the plant contains. The entire plant, including the roots, leaves, and especially the berries, is packed with cardiogenic toxins. These are compounds that directly affect the heart's rhythm and function. Even a small amount can cause serious health problems. If someone were to eat these berries, the effects could be rapid and severe. Initial symptoms might include burning in the mouth and throat, dizziness, and confusion. As the toxins take hold, the person could experience an irregular heartbeat, blurred vision, and intense stomach cramps. In extreme cases, ingestion can lead to cardiac arrest. There are documented cases of poisoning, though they're relatively rare because the plant is not widely encountered, and its appearance tends to deter most people. What makes doll's eyes particularly dangerous is that they don't resemble many common edible berries, so they're less likely to be confused with food by experienced foragers. However, curious children or inexperienced hikers might be drawn to them because they're so unusual. The bright red stems add to the visual appeal, making the plant look almost ornamental. Interestingly, birds can eat doll's eyes berries without harm, much like poison ivy. This allows the plant to spread its seeds effectively while remaining highly toxic to mammals, including humans. It's another reminder that nature's rules don't always apply equally across species. If you're hiking in eastern forests and you come across a plant with white berries that have black dots and bright red stalks, admire it from a distance. Take a photo if you'd like, but don't touch it, and certainly don't taste it. Teach children to recognize this plant as well, since its unusual appearance can be tempting. Doll's eyes is a perfect example of how something visually fascinating can also be profoundly dangerous. Number 3. Pokeweed berries. Moving on to a plant that's both widespread and widely misunderstood. Pokeweed is a tall, robust plant that can grow 6 to 10 feet high, with thick, reddish-purple stems and long clusters of dark purple berries. At first glance, especially to someone unfamiliar with wild plants, pokeweed berries might be mistaken for elderberries or other edible dark berries. That confusion can be serious. Pokeweed is native to eastern North America, but has spread across much of the continent. It thrives in disturbed soils, roadsides, fence lines, and forest edges. The plant grows quickly and produces prolific amounts of berries from late summer into fall. The berries are round, glossy, and hang in long, drooping clusters, each berry about the size of a pea. The confusion with elderberries is understandable. Both have dark purple berries that grow in clusters. However, elderberries grow on woody shrubs with compound leaves, while pokeweed is a large herbaceous plant with smooth, red-tinged stems and simple oval leaves. The stems are the key identifier. If they're red or magenta, it's pokeweed. Now, here's where things get complicated. In some traditional Appalachian and Southern cooking, young pokeweed shoots are harvested in early spring and prepared as poke salé. This involves carefully selecting tender shoots, boiling them in multiple changes of water to remove toxins, and then cooking them thoroughly. It's a labor-intensive process that requires specific knowledge. Even then, it's not without risk. But the berries and mature plant are a different story. Raw pokeweed berries contain a range of toxic compounds, including saponins and phytolactotoxin. These can cause nausea, severe vomiting, abdominal cramps, diarrhea, and weakness. In large quantities, they can affect the blood and respiratory system. Children are especially vulnerable because the berries can look appealing and taste mildly sweet at first, before the toxic effects set in. Despite their toxicity to humans, pokeweed berries are an important food source for many bird species. Mockingbirds, robins, and mourning doves are frequent consumers, and they help spread the plant far and wide. Once again, what's safe for wildlife isn't necessarily safe for us. One reason pokeweed poisoning still occurs is that some people mistakenly believe the berries can be used to make dye or wine, processes they assume would neutralize the toxins. While the berries do produce a vibrant purple dye, the toxins remain active, and using them in any culinary or medicinal preparation is dangerous without proper expertise. If you encounter pokeweed on a hike or in your yard, it's best to appreciate it for its role in the ecosystem and leave it alone. Don't let children or pets near the berries, and avoid handling the plant, especially if you have cuts or open skin. If you're interested in foraging, there are far safer and less ambiguous plants to learn about first. Number 4. Mistletoe berries. Another plant that might surprise you is mistletoe. Most people associate mistletoe with holiday traditions and romantic gestures, but this parasitic plant produces berries that are toxic to humans. Found growing high in the branches of trees across North America and Europe, mistletoe is more than just a festive decoration. It's a plant you should handle with care. Mistletoe grows as a hemiparasite, meaning it attaches to a host tree and draws water and nutrients from it, while also photosynthesizing on its own. The plant forms rounded clumps of evergreen leaves and produces small, white, translucent berries. These berries are sticky and often appear in clusters during the fall and winter months, which is why mistletoe is so commonly harvested for holiday use. The berries contain toxic proteins called viscotoxins, as well as other compounds that can affect the cardiovascular and nervous systems. In small amounts, ingestion may cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. In larger quantities, symptoms can escalate to blurred vision, drowsiness, low blood pressure, and even seizures or irregular heartbeat. Children are particularly at risk during the holiday season when mistletoe is brought indoors as decoration. The berries can easily fall off and end up within reach of curious toddlers. Even a few berries can cause discomfort, and there have been numerous cases of accidental poisoning reported to poison control centers each year. Interestingly, like many of the berries on this list, mistletoe berries are eaten safely by birds. Species like the mistle thrush in Europe are named for their fondness for mistletoe berries. The sticky coating on the berries helps them adhere to tree bark after passing through a bird's digestive system, which is how mistletoe spreads from tree to tree. If you're using mistletoe as a decoration, consider choosing artificial versions, especially if you have young children or pets in the home. If you do use real mistletoe, inspect it regularly to make sure berries aren't falling off and keep it out of reach. Never eat the berries, and teach children that, while the tradition is fun, the plant itself is not edible. Outside, if you're walking through forests and you see clumps of green growth high in leafless trees during winter, that's likely mistletoe. Admire it from below, but don't harvest it unless you know exactly what you're doing and plan to use it safely. Number 5. Holly berries. Finally, we come to holly, a plant so common in landscaping and holiday decor that many people forget it's toxic. Holly bushes and trees are evergreen plants with glossy, dark green leaves edged with sharp spines. In late fall and winter, they produce clusters of bright red berries that are visually striking and often associated with festive imagery. But those berries are not safe to eat. Holly berries contain saponins and theobromine, the same compound found in chocolate that's toxic to dogs. In humans, eating holly berries typically causes stomach upset, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. The berries also have a waxy coating and bitter taste, which usually prevents people from eating large quantities. However, even a small handful can cause discomfort, especially in children. The symptoms are rarely life-threatening in adults, but they can be quite unpleasant and may lead to dehydration if vomiting or diarrhea is severe. Children are more vulnerable due to their smaller body size, and there have been cases where eating holly berries resulted in emergency room visits. Holly is widespread across North America, Europe, and parts of Asia. It's commonly planted in yards, parks, and along streets for its year-round greenery and winter color. Because it's so familiar, people often underestimate the risk. Kids may pluck the berries while playing outside, or toddlers might grab them during holiday gatherings when holly is used as decoration. What makes holly particularly tricky is that the berries look almost edible. They're glossy, firm, and brightly colored traits we often associate with fruit. But their bitter taste usually triggers an immediate reaction, causing most people to spit them out before swallowing. Still, that doesn't eliminate the risk entirely. If you have holly plants in your yard and you have young children, it's worth pointing out the berries and explaining that they're not food. Keep an eye on kids during outdoor play, especially in winter when the berries are most prominent. If someone does ingest holly berries and shows symptoms, contact a healthcare provider or poison control center for guidance. Like the others on this list, holly berries are eaten safely by birds. Robins, thrushes, and other species rely on them as a winter food source, which is part of the plant's natural seed dispersal strategy. Once again, this highlights an important lesson. Just because wildlife can eat something doesn't mean humans can. These 5 plants are reminders that not everything in nature is safe to touch or taste. Whether you're hiking, foraging, or simply enjoying your backyard, knowing how to identify toxic berries can protect you and your family. Always practice the golden rule of foraging. If you're not absolutely certain a plant is safe, leave it alone. Stay curious, stay cautious, and keep exploring the outdoors with awareness and respect.